he was a gem. This was where was it? Sorry, I just have to have a look through my
That's okay. While you do that, team, we got
Sladen
um,
Moses.
oh,
Sladen Moses.
oh,
What a
Sladen was great. Sladen's off tap good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. That guy's a
I
machine.
know, right? I know. We did some team building work for him in the studio here. Actually, like we go around the world from here and put on the whiteboard, and we swap cameras and we talk and write, and yeah, no, he was his team was really cool too, and they're all over the planet. So yeah, he's got a big job. No, he did a great job, Sladen.
Yeah, he did a good job. And he was very succinct. The quality of his answers, obviously, fair bit scripted,
Yeah,
um, but you could tell that he put the time and effort into delivering good content
yeah.
to you, and you explored it quite well. I thought it was um,
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
a bit of poetry in there as well with the quality of his answers.
Oh, 100% human. Team Huon and I are just having a quick chat. This may end up as a podcast or it may not. Hugh Jester, that's said in Australian, is an Australian renewable energy entrepreneur and founder dedicated to accelerating clean energy adoption across commercial and residential sectors. There you go. And apart from that, Huon's just given me some feedback on the podcast, which I really appreciate, and I said that to him. Um, Now that I understand this profile, Huon's probably a high D, which means quite a little bit direct, just get straight to the point. I'm a high I, get offended by that, or I used to, not anymore. So now that I know
Cheers,
profiling,
mate.
I just go, you know what, that's just a style, and we're happy, and we're just going to have a quick chat now and work out whether we talk about influence now, we just talk about podcasts and how to get a better podcast. And what I think I might do is I might just ask Huon a couple of quick questions around exactly what he just shared then and how to be a good podcaster. So you're going to hear me get some coaching and some feedback, which is why you do podcasts anyway.
Yeah, I guess we are just chatting about what makes a good podcast and what listeners are particularly interested in. And as someone who consumes a fair bit of content online, um, I'm looking for the gem in the rough, trying to find something that's going to add value to my life. And as a business owner and someone, or several businesses, I don't have a lot of. It seems that I've got a lot of time because I'm listening to a lot of things, but I'm listening to a lot of things, and therefore I'm trying to consolidate it. And I'm listening to a lot of my podcasts at increased frame rate, 1.25, um, because I'm trying to get to content. And that's what I was encouraging you with, obviously, Anton, is how do we get to content quickly? Because we're all getting increasingly time poor, want to consolidate our lives
Mm-hmm.
to the drive that we've got in between here and home and seeing the kids and getting back to business.
Absolutely. So in saying that, Huon, get to the content quickly, but another bit of feedback you gave me, which I thought was really cool, was shorten up my questions, be more concise in the questions.
I think we're not here to waffle. We're here to get to that jewel in the jewel in the rough, and we're not here to, in the Australian terminology, which I'm not allowed to use, we're not here to do anything to spiders. We're here to get a question and find the answer to that, and get
Mm,
that the listener is interested in what the speaker's really got to say.
100%. And so, what's the best podcast you've listened to?
Ooh, well, I got to say on your podcast, Slade and Moses, I think was a brilliant podcast, and
Hmm.
you did a great job with him. He was
Okay.
extremely polished, well spoken, concise, poetic. It was a fine balance, I guess, between entertainment and quality content. Some people,
Um,
especially TED talks, you can watch TED all the time. The polish that they've put on those talks can often mask poor content. Uh, or, they're often got great content, but
mm,
I think one of the best podcasts or one of the best TED Talks is a TED Talk about TED Talks, and it actually says nothing. And I just thought that was one of the most brilliant examples of how a great speaker, watching Obama speak, what a brilliant orator. The guy can speak beautifully and say nothing at the same time. And I think I'm not. I hope I don't do that on your podcast.
What's
Um,
that?
is
Say nothing.
say, say,
No!
say something well, but nothing at all.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Um,
I want to add
so,
value, and I think getting back to influence, I think I, my intent is to add value to the listener. And I speak at a lot of events, and I speak to our industry, and I always say, I don't want to be up there speaking about something if I can't add value. I'm not here to advertise. I hope that I can help build people up, get them into a better place. Otherwise, we're doing all this just for ego and clicks,
that's
and
right.
that's not interesting.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing about podcasting is that if you've made it about you, no one's going to listen. Like it has to be about the person you're talking to.
Hmm.
And if that comes through in mine, great. If it doesn't, well, I've tried hard to make sure because our team gives me feedback regularly that why don't you promote yourself, promote yourself. But no, it's not about us. We're here to put the spotlight on other humans. And but what most people don't realise, Huon, is that like this, podcasting is actually coaching.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
It's an interesting thing, right? We don't know who the listener is. So, and what I found out about listeners recently, there's a great quote, and you'll forgive me for not knowing the who said it first, but it was the problem with communication is the illusion that it's taken place. Have you heard that one?
absolutely. I don't know who to credit it to, but I've heard it.
And I ran an experiment actually thinking about how people hear things and how people say things. And
Wow.
I often find that in my own staff, in my own team, and even with myself, uh, I think that I've communicated well. I think that I've transferred an idea, but I haven't spoken the language that the listener actually hears. And and I have to remind myself and my staff, people I come into contact with, and even my kids who are starting to give speeches in school and those sorts of things. Uh, we need to speak the same language as what's being listened to. And a really classic example, I had a major client, a very big hammer warehouse, has I had two customers or two project leads. The first customer I was dealing with was very emotional. What I realized after thinking about his communication style is that he needs me to know and he needs me to be aligned with his purpose. Like it was most important that I aligned with him and knew where he was trying to get to.
Huh?
He was superseded, he moved out and retired. The guy that came to replace him, a much younger guy, very pragmatic, his communication style was data. He wants data, he wants numbers, he wants this information. This is like fresh off the press. I then get a call from Andrew, is his name. And knowing his style now, I said, Andrew, we're still working on 15 sites. 5 sites are ending this month. 3 sites are already commissioned. We're starting the next few sites here. You're also underperforming. The solar systems are not performing as well over here. We're about 8% down on where we forecast, but my team are looking at that. He left
Wow.
that conversation saying that was the best call we'd ever had. And I was like, wow, that is like amazing. But if I'd spoken to, the former guy, Richard, if I'd come out with data straight away, and even though my alignment is with him, and I said, I know where you're trying to get to, Richard. This is how I'd have to speak to him. I know where you're trying to get to, Richard. I'm with you all the way. Don't worry about the foreground. We're focused on the far ground, the background. And that was just something that if you want to have influence, if we want to communicate effectively, we really need to think about the language that we're speaking. It could be English, it could be data, it could be alignment, it could be a sensation. It's key to our effort.
So let me ask you, have you ever done your disc profile?
Uh, probably a long time ago. It's a vague
Right.
memory.
Right? Because everything you just explained then is just disc profiling.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And when you know, so we've done 949 disc profiles for people, including Sladen's team. And so Sladen was actually quite a high D, which is why he's so direct and so succinct. Whereas I'm quite the high I, and I just like talking around things, and I don't really generally get to the point, which is why my questions are too long. Whereas some people are high S's, which are team players, they just want to know how to contribute. They don't talk much at all, they just want to be doing. And then there's the high C, which is the high detail people,
Right.
and you won't get through to them unless you give them 13 layers of data, and it's about what's the process, what's the procedure, what's the facts, what's the analysis.
Yeah.
And when you know that, and when like, let's say for you personally, Huon, let's say you knew that for each one of your team members, what's your team change? Guaranteed.
Definitely something worth doing. Because I would hate to be in the position, and I've got a lot of intuition with that. I
Of
think,
course.
obviously, I've got a team here of 45 staff, and
Of course.
each one of them has their own needs, but it would be much better to put some science behind it. I agree.
Cool. I'm sending you through a proposal straight after this.
Awesome. Put it
Always
put
sell
it
it.
as a link under the podcast, and then everyone can access it.
Oh, stop it. We're always selling. Done. So in saying that, so you said you're quite intuitive. So the I in disc it says influence. That's it. That's where this podcast was born out of.
Right. There you go.
So I'm 98% I, and a high C asked me, how the heck do you like just talk to people all the time?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I love humans.
Yeah.
And they said, well, what's that really like? I said, well, I get energized with people. And they said, well, that sounds like a whole lot of work. I said, well, it probably is a bit, but for me, it's good. And I said, I can't really tell you what it's like. So what I'll do is I'll go and ask a couple of hundred people about influence, and I'll get back to you. And here we
Yeah.
are.
I think is it Myers-Briggs ENFJ? I think
Yeah,
feels like,
that's it.
I mean, I would have done this 15 years ago, to be honest. I haven't touched it since. And who knows, things can change. So,
That's it.
but yeah, I think where your heart is, I think is also where influence starts. I mean,
Oh,
there's some people there's some bad people in the world. Their influence is not for positive outcomes. Thankfully, humans are quite tuned to that these days. I think more tuned than ever in history are we aware of psychological things, and hopefully that pans out to be a positive force for humanity. But yeah, it's influencing people in the right way, I think, is we're all in sales all the time, I guess, and sales is obviously trying to put your thumb on the scale of decision making, have an influence, but it's like my people here, Smart Commercial Solar, as we started 15 years ago, it was and still remains to have a positive influence on the world, to improve our customers' businesses is our core purpose. And everyone who works in the company actually wants to do good for humanity. We've surveyed that multiple times over multiple years, and every single person in my business wants to actually do good. It's not coming to work just for a paycheck. And I think that's probably a symptom of the age in which we live, the opportunity, Australia being a relatively wealthy country where that choice can be made. But it's great to see people making that choice, nevertheless.
oh, geez, you're lucky.
Well, it's a
I think,
beautiful industry.
All the work that. Yeah, oh, that's true too. You are in a very progressive, sort of forward-looking,
Yeah.
change the world's sort of industry in itself. We're doing a lot of work with some solar farms at the moment, which is really cool fun as well, and some wind farms as well. So no, I get that, but I think to have a team who's on purpose and who want to have a positive impact and want to do good, does that come back to hiring, do you think, Huon, or is that something that gets instilled once they get there?
Uh, I would say it's innate in my staff, but I would say we work to enhance it when they get here. I think, like if you consider that most of these guys went to university for a renewable energy education,
Yeah.
and they've chosen to come and have a look into this particular industry, already shows you their innate, um, uh, predisposition.
Yeah.
What I have found though is that this industry, the solar industry, is actually a pretty grubby industry, and there's a lot of not good people in it. It's an industry that's been, used as a political football and given a lot of money from governments, right around the world, mind you, and
Okay.
and as such, it's attracted a lot of grubs. To be honest, like there's a lot. It would be at least 50% of the market, and
Shit.
so that sort of opportunistic behaviour has, like, bad actors have capitalised on good people moving into the industry. So young kids who
Wow.
have been through university and want to do good go and work for bad companies, and the owners of those guys have capitalised on that and used their influence. Obviously, I remember meeting a guy at an industry event, and he's got the beads, and he's wearing hemp clothing, and he's looking like, the ultimate hippie renewable guy. The guy was an absolute grub. He was selling like really overpriced systems to little old ladies and absolutely doing everything that I hate, everything without integrity. And
Wow.
we're at this industry event, and he came up and said g'day, and I said, mate, our industry does not need people like you.
I love the high D. That's direct.
I got straight into it, and then
And-
suddenly a few of my other frenemies, competitors and friends, they've rocked in and jumped on the bandwagon, and it's just
And
another.
how did the hippie take it?
He started sweating pretty quickly, In our industry, I'm not a small player.
Right.
So, I have a bit of influence in the industry, so they were.
Right.
They weren't in the industry very long, I can tell you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're out.
Oh, wow. Well, that's influenced you on.
Well, I've had some pretty funny stories, hey.
Yeah.
Like these, I had these funny guys. The phone. Everyone's received a phone call from a solar company,
Yeah.
maybe
Regularly.
Filipino call center calling them. One of my installers thought it would be funny to direct them my direction, so every day I'd get a call, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. Would you like to buy solar? Can I? This will cost you nothing. The government's paying for everything. You'll never get an energy bill again. Anyway, I listened to them for a long time.
Yeah.
I followed all the lies that they'd made. And one day they'd obviously cottoned on to who this person was who was wasting a lot of their call center time. It was
Ah.
quite entertaining for me. I get a call up from the owners, and I know about these companies, and they've ripped into me. Huon, we know who you are. You're wasting our time. You're camping on our brand. Their name was Got to Go Solar. And
No.
in our advertising, we had, if you've got to go solar, then go with Smart Commercial Solar. And anyway, they were ripping into us. They said, that's it. We're going to come down to your office. You're nothing to us. We're going to F you up and all this sort of stuff. This is on the phone.
What? Threatened violence?
Yeah,
No.
sure enough.
They rocked up?
Probably the only honest thing they ever did. 45 minutes, I didn't expect it. 45 minutes later, these 2 gangster looking dudes came into my office and started threatening me and my staff. And
What'd you do?
I sort of got right up close to them. I'm not particularly a big guy, but if I have to, I'll go for it. The reality is, they started ripping into me and going, "You're nothing to us. You're not real business." And I said,
okay.
"Wait there, you're looking like gangsters coming into my office." I'm dressed in, at that time, I was wearing a collar and looking slightly business.
Right.
And I said, if you guys were all about business, you'd be sending me a legal letter. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, at least they'll spend some money on something. And sure enough, I got a legal letter. It was about that fat wad of paper. And I
Filed it?
wrote back to their lawyer and I said, along with the phone call recording where they've threatened me and my family and my business, this all will go to the police next. I called up their main supplier. I said, I've been around a long time though. He's a friend of mine. I said, Andrew, these guys no good. They're no good. You got to stop supplying them. He said, no, Hugh, they're doing heaps of money. They're making money. They're doing heaps really well. I said, mate, they're going to screw you. They are going to screw you over. Bad people do bad things. These people are bad. They're going to do you too.
Wow.
Within 7 months, they'd filed for bankruptcy.
Hadn't paid.
$2.5 million owing to my friend Andrew, and he spent another year and a half chasing them. Just one of the delights of the solar industry, mate.
Huon, I would never. This is so good to pull the curtain back. We just see, what is it? Sunshines and rainbows, literally sunshine. I was only talking to a guy at lunchtime who just spent 10 grand on a battery system at his house, and he's doing all the things, and like it's on the topic of, on the tip of everyone's tongue at the moment. But to hear that the industry itself has got some rat bags, I suppose every industry does. But you're saying that this is a little bit more.
It just, when there's government rebate, it's going to attract them. But,
wow.
Longevity in business, like I always say, whatever we're doing, it's got to be a long game. And so there's competitors out there who sell systems, but we sell energy over time. It's a key difference in how we approach our market and how we influence our own staff to think about what we do. It's the focus. We're not selling a moment in time. We're not selling a transaction. We're selling something that's going to do something. No one actually wants to buy solar and a battery. What they want to do is buy protection from the grid, protection from high prices, a saving, a return on investment. Mm-hmm. And the moment we start thinking this is a transactional relationship is the moment that we can't be doing business. It's a thing that takes time. So that's our focus, and that's how I actually influence my staff. I say we don't sell systems, we sell energy over time.
Oh, and this circles back to the question that I asked, hopefully reasonably succinctly. Do people come to you with this passion to do good, or do you breed that into them to a degree? And I think, yeah, you're right. They are probably, there's a proclivity towards it, but at the end of the day, you can't help but be influenced by a leader like you and a culture like yours, and people will come into your culture and feel that requirement to do good.
Absolutely, yeah. And I started doing this a few years ago. At every company meeting, we have a company meeting every month. And I always show the company values.
Wow.
And I encourage the team. I say, look, whether it's me or anyone else, the SMART company values, smart, motivated, agile, relationship focused, etc., is this is what we live and die by. And even if it's me who are not living up to our values, then you have to say something about it. You have to bring it up, because without our values, we're nothing. And so there's an award given every month to the person who represents the values the most.
Wow.
There's a lot of focus on values, which obviously does permeate the team, because you can't expect people to join your company and share your values. You have to tell them what they are. Everyone's going to have their own values. Of course, everyone has their own values.
Absolutely.
And you can't expect that all the values are going to be shared.
Nice. But what you can do is you can influence people's buy-in by living the values yourself and expecting other people to hold you accountable if you don't.
Yeah, totally. It comes with a certain level, and I was thinking about it actually on the way into work, anticipating the chat that we're having today. I was thinking that basically radical transparency.
Wow.
We're very transparent in the company about where we're at, what we're concerned about, what we're hopeful for. That transparency, we really have thought about bringing it back. It's been a topic of discussion because, let's say you're not doing so well financially.
Yep.
If your staff don't understand what that really means at that moment in time, they get cold feet and they're like looking for another job suddenly. What we're trying to do is say, yeah, we're transparent, so you always know where we're at, and we're at it together as a team. And when good times come back, they're good, and when we're going through a hard time, that's just the way life is. And it's actually bred a change in. You're talking about who we hire. I used to hire when I was young and less experienced. I would hire. I thought that great salespeople were going to be single men because they could move around. They weren't being tied down by anything.
Okay.
What I found later, and now what we actively hire for, are family values. A person with family values understand that life's not always easy, and sometimes relationships are going to go through hard times. Sometimes the weather's not always sunny. And someone with strong family values and relationships that are not transient, they take that into work. And that's what I'm actually looking for in the type of client that we've got, in the way that we approach our client, in how we hold their hand long term. We're not transient, and I actually don't want fleeting moments. I want someone who will endure, because that's the type of relationship I'm looking for, not only with my staff but with my customer as well.
Wow. Deep shit, Huon.
Yeah.
Deep stuff. Really cool.
But then you can be honest, right? Because
Absolutely.
like we're able to be honest because we've got people we can be honest with. Excuse me.
Yeah. And you expect them to be honest with you at the same time on how they're feeling, what they're struggling with, what they think the business could do better, etc.
That's right. Yeah,
And-
it's I was working for someone else prior to starting Smart, and that was over 15 years ago. I started working in the solar industry 20 years ago.
Wow.
My brother and I bought a property that was unable to be connected to the grid.
Oh.
And so we built an off-grid solar system, and that's how I started in the
Wow.
industry. And I worked for the guy who built it for us.
Ah.
And I got to be a bit careful because I don't think he'll watch this, but the reality is my integrity was jeopardized because of decisions he made. I was a sales rep for him, and I was told what to offer the client, and I would promise that outcome for the client. And then the delivery team, and he would deliver the system. And there was so many promises I made, and he just didn't deliver. And I say to my staff now, don't make a promise that we can't deliver. Never jeopardize my integrity, and I will never jeopardize yours. If you promise something on the behalf of the business, even if it costs us money, we will deliver it. But you'll probably lose your job if you do it without the integrity. If you're going to screw the company over. But
That's it.
I will deliver on your promise, regardless of what it takes. But don't put me in that position where I have to deliver something that's not right. And in return, I will never jeopardize your integrity. So if you make a promise to a client, I will fulfill it.
Sheesh.
And that changes how, already our relationship with my staff is already one of, okay, so people are used to getting screwed over by their boss a little bit. That's not going to happen here.
Holy shit. Mate, that, they're lucky to have you. And you're right. Remember, I've had 200 of these conversations, and not many of them are this clear around values. And it's not that they're not as good a leader, it's just that they're not as clear and as concise just around what you're going to deliver for your team, what you expect of your team, and how that shows up in relation to culture and behaviour and expectations, accountability, integrity. Shit, big deal. Big deal, this conversation. I hope some of your staff listen to this. Not that they need to. Actually, I hope a lot of people listen to this conversation from a leadership perspective, because there's actually gold in this that Huon has shared, and this has been one of my favourites again. I know I've probably said that once or twice, but I'm really grateful for Huon for sharing all this. Wow, man. So where did all this come from? Where did the integrity come from? Did you have? Oh, it was probably that leader that you had that wasn't high integrity. Was it at that point where you said, you know what, I'm not doing that?
It probably, to be honest, it started a long time before that.
Ah,
Uh, I think a lot of these values that I've adopted are family values.
right.
I'm a Christian as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm not a very good one, I would say, but
Right.
it's been a core part of my life. Um,
Mm.
and my Oma and Opa, my grandparents, they lived through the war in Holland. Uh, they carried a huge amount of those values through that time. We were a very tough time, and you can see how it really hardened hardened those values into them. Um, so my parents are extremely high integrity people, I would
Right.
say. And I'm not talking myself up here, by the way.
No.
I
Yeah.
was very blessed, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've been blessed by the people in my life.
Right.
Um, I'm very, very lucky to be surrounded by a whole lot of very good people who've done amazing things. Um,
Love it.
and I think, there's a great verse in the Bible. It's actually one of the parables that most kids would have learned in Sunday school about the parable of the sower. And this guy goes and throws seeds out there, and some lands on the rocks, some lands among the weeds, and some lands in fertile soil. And there's one line there that says, "All by itself, the soil will grow the plant." And I think this is a lesson for everyone. If you're finding yourself in bad soil, it generally produces bad um, fruit. So, I often think about who we surround ourselves with. I was just lucky, mate. I was just lucky. I was
Mm.
surrounded. I grew up in a world where I was surrounded by great people.
Love it. And you are. I think those early days, we can't choose our parents, obviously, and we can't choose, our family and those early relationships. But I think once we get a little bit older, we get to, and then once we get to our age, sort of thing, and we're a bit more chronologically successful now. We get to have conversations like this, and we get to be around humans that light us up, not pull us down. And I think that's the fertile soil piece.
Yeah.
Wow.
I really feel for those people who haven't had that in their life and they've got to find
Mm,
their way to do it. Like,
mm,
um, yeah, how do you? I really applaud those people who pull themselves
mm,
out of
mm-hmm,
poor soil
mm,
and
mm.
make great things out of that and make choices along the way that were probably against the market they found themselves in.
Agreed. Agreed. And I guess, yeah, you see. I love the story of the two twins. Have you heard the story of the two twins whose dad was on death row
Ah, tell me that.
for a heinous crime, for a horrible murder? And so one son's on death row next to him. The other son is a world famous brain surgeon, a world changer, saved hundreds of lives, world class, and they're both twins raised by this dad who's on death row.
Yeah.
And they asked both the boys, they said, "Why did you end up like you did?" And they both had the same response. "Well, how could you expect me to end up any differently? Look at my dad." And I went, "Holy fudge." I remember hearing that story for the first time thinking, my goodness, you know,
Yeah.
one looks at the father and says, "I'm not going to be like that," and goes on to greatness. The other one goes, "Well, you know what? I don't have any other option." And I think there's power in
Really
that,
is.
and you're right. For those people that do manage to pull themselves out of it, it sucks that they got a shitty start in life, and you feel for them.
Mm.
And it's still, you and I can be grateful for what's come our way, Huon.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, watching a podcast and seeing some of those great, inspiring leaders and influencers, yeah, everyone's got a great story, and I think that's also something I've learned is we got to remember the stories. There's stories are very powerful. We are story creatures. We love a story. I tell my kids stories almost nightly, and yeah, stories are what make us almost put ourselves, see ourselves in the third person so well.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, it's pretty
that's right.
valuable listening to other people's stories and then
That's right.
taking an
They get,
interest in applying the lesson.
that's right. They get right in here very quickly into your amygdala, believe it or not, or your hippocampus. There you go. There's a bit of psychology for you.
Yeah, nice.
But no, I agree. Storytelling is powerful, and here's the sad part, Huon. we teach storytelling. It's one of our programs, public speaking, and the amount of time someone said to me, Anton, I don't have a story, and I say, you have got no idea just how valuable your life experiences is. And we give them this little triangle. You've had the experience. The problem is you haven't yet evaluated it in a way that you can explain it in a way that it makes a difference, that someone can learn from it. Because a story's not a story unless there's a lesson, unless it's a, hey, this is what I did, or this is what happened. This is what I thought about and reflected on. If I had my time again, this is what I'd do different. Why don't you try that?
Yeah.
You know, and I think everyone, Huon, everyone has got this story, even teenagers, you know, who haven't got any life experience really, have still got stories about how they were bullied or, you know, how they struggled for tests or whatever, that if they learnt to tell them powerfully, you know, that they could change lives. Stories are so powerful, man. So powerful.
We love them.
Yeah. Huon, off tap. Here we go. We weren't going to do a podcast. That's probably just one of the best podcasts.
Yeah, it's off the cuff. It's authentic. That's what I love about this, and it's very
So much better
Australian.
than.
We were talking about that just before we started. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, like the Americans have great style and the British have a lovely accent, but
Yeah.
Australians have an authenticity that that just make things real and tangible, and it's why our coffee's better. It's why we've got some of the best food in the world, because everything about that is telling a story, and we're prepared to sort of get a bit grimy from time to time if it's gangsters turning up in your office. That's all part of the story, right?
I love that. And like those little stories sit with me, and I go and tell them for a little while until I get another good one. Okay, should have heard it I had on the podcast the other day. And then my wife will listen to this and she'll go, "Oh, did you hear that one that Huon said?" I said, "Yes, babe. Yes, it was a good yard."
I have threatened to write all these down one day because I've got thousands of stories.
Write a
And
book, brother.
look, it helps. It helps when I don't know about you, but I just can't seem to learn other than by making the mistake. Like I know there's books written about this. I know that there's podcasts, and look, I'm going to pick up what I can, but inevitably, I seem to be stuck learning only from making the mistakes. I've lost millions of dollars over my career here just through making mistakes. I've obviously made some back, but geez, it's not comfortable. But it's like you know we go water skiing with the kids, and I've been water skiing for years. I'm okay at it, quite good, and every now and then I stack, and I stack pretty hard, and my kids are like, "Oh, Dad, you had a big stack," and I say, "Well, if I'm not stacking, I'm not trying." And we have to push the boundaries. We have to find the edge of the ski. We got to give it a crack, and yeah, it's going to hurt. It doesn't matter, man. Just get back up and have another crack. Like as long as the rib's not broken and punctured lung, it should be
Is, Isn't that called your comfort zone or something? Isn't there something about comfort zoning or something?
There's probably a book written about this, Anton. I don't know.
Oh, there will be, mate. There will be. Get outside your comfort zone. It'll be called too, I'm sure. And here's a fun fact, Huon. We just got talking about being very religious, right? And this is me waffling now, so it's probably not a question in this. This is just a story for our listeners, and I don't think I've told this on the podcast yet. So if you can humour me just for a moment, because I think you'll like this. When I was in utero, my mum was really sick, and she thought she'd lose her first pregnancy. And so Saint Anthony is the patron saint of lost things. Did you know that, being a Christian? All right, so Saint Anthony, you lose something, Huon, you lose your keys, pray to Saint Anthony to help you find them. No problem.
Right.
Every time. I left this in security in Italy. I was out of Italy and I had to go back through and find it. And all I did was pray to Saint Anthony. Of course, it's back on my wrist now. Who would have thought? That's belief, right? That's faith in something bigger than ourselves. But my mum prayed to Saint Anthony and said, Saint Anthony, if you help me find the health of this baby, I'll name my baby after you, whether that's Anthony or Antonella or whatever the case would be. She felt she was going to have a boy. So here I am, Anthony. My name is Anthony. Get this.
Awesome.
15 years later, Huon, 15 years later, we're sitting down talking about names because my brother's Joseph, so we're a very religious family. As you get this. So there's me and Joseph,
Yeah.
and John, and William. So we got all the saints covered.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're having a look at a saint's name book and feast days. Turns out, which we didn't even know for 15 years. I was 15 when I found this out. I was born on the feast day of Saint Anthony.
Well, there you go.
Go figure.
That is, I
Is,
love that. I love that
isn't it a
stuff.
good yarn?
Oh, it's, yeah,
I know.
I,
Goosebump story.
I was telling people I had to speak at an event just on the weekend, and
Yeah.
and I think the world's a big place. We get to see our universe through a pupil or two pupils about
See?
2 millimeters in diameter.
I love
So we
that.
perceive 2 trillion stars and the world in which we live through about 8 square millimeters, and we think that we know what's going on. Please, everyone listening to this podcast, please leave a little bit of room in your mind for doubt. That maybe you don't know everything, and maybe that there could be something bigger than you out there.
Oh, mate, well said. Hold that thought. I'm going to wrap this up, Huon, because at about 45 minutes, people drop off our potties. So,
Understood.
mate, but I'm going to come back to you just for a moment after I do a wrap up of what I've learnt. And I'm going to come back for you to close this out. Is that okay?
Sure.
Thank you, mate. Team, for a podcast that wasn't going to actually happen. So, in all transparency, Huon and I jumped on, and Huon said, "Have you sent me the questions?" I said, "Probably not. I'm a high eye, so I don't do detail. I think our team tries to, but sometimes they forget. That's fine." Huon said, "Oh, look, I'd rather be a bit more scripted." And I said, "Well, cool, maybe we postpone." And then at the end of the day, we just said, "Hey, let's just have a chat about life and times." And you've probably got the best 45 minutes of conversation that I've had forever. That was just that was a phenomenal conversation, and I'm grateful for people like Huon that just open up their heart and can tell me this really cool stuff about their life and their business. But what I loved was Huon was going to give me some feedback about the podcast, which was nice, and it was nice that Huon, and respectfully, see, what most people don't realise is everything is about 3 layers deeper than it appears. As Huon said, we look through these 2 millimeter lenses or pupils and we see the world. But Huon said, I've listened to some podcasts, and I go, and I didn't say this to him, but that's respect. And I go, well, thank you so much, because we put so much time and effort into these for someone to listen to them. And yes, we've got hundreds of listeners and thousands of downloads now, but when someone says that, it's not unnoticed. And he said, this is the one that I like the most, Sladen Moses. And Sladen was one of the people that from the podcast has become a client, and we did disc and stuff with Sladen. And Sladen was really, really articulate, and it was really a pleasure to speak to Sladen as well. And once we moved past some of that feedback and how I could do better as a podcaster, which I'm always grateful for, because I get a lot of it from my lovely wife, and a shout out to Julie. Julie listens to every podcast, every single episode, and every episode I get some feedback on, and so they've changed over time. But I think the highlight for me listening to Huon, and I really hope a lot of leaders listen to this, and a lot of leaders I deal with, I'm probably lucky that they are sort of values-led and values-driven. But if you listen to Huon talk about values, it is next level. We heard on live this morning from Mick, and Mick talked about the same thing, just how deep his values were. And when you hear values like radical transparency and the fact that systems, we're not installing systems, we're installing energy over time. And that sort of stuff is part of your vernacular, and it's part of your vocabulary. It's sort of, it can't help but become cultural, and then your values become entrenched. And I actually asked Huon about that. Do people come to you with these values, or do you instill them? And it's a bit of both. But I don't think you could work in Huon's organisations without Huon and these values rubbing off on you, which is really, really cool. But the words that Huon used particularly were family values, and I love that. Love family values. So someone that's been married for 32 years and got 2 amazing little humans who have now grown into big humans. Our family values are really strong, and we know what they are. And we only had 2 values for our kids: be likeable when you're growing up, get adults to like you. That was their number 1 mission. No matter what you do, go out and find a way to be likeable And then another one was treat females with respect and treat them like princesses. Remember, that was 25 years ago, and females say, "I don't want to be treated like a princess," and I know, but that was 25 years ago. So that was our values for our kids, and I think you've got to be really clear on what your family values are. And I think Huon sort of looks for people with those values now. And if I thought about it, but I didn't say it to Huon, I thought, what he looks for family values on resumes, I just look for someone who's done a triathlon or a marathon, or I do ultra running in my spare time. I go, oh, okay, because he just do 100k runs. Yeah, just every Saturday, or on Saturday. Oh, yeah, cool. Sundays. Oh, cool. So they're the sort of people to hire as well. I look for them because I just know how much that takes. And as a triathlete, hire a triathlete always, because they got pretty strong values too a lot of the time, and it's to complete. But anyway, back to Huon. We have had the best conversation. Huon's going to finish us off with something motivational to change your life right now.
Thank you, Anton. I really appreciate the time, and I really appreciate speaking to other leaders of influence. I think we can all grow together. And it just reminds me of that verse, which is, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? We got a lot of things to do in this life. Let's make sure that they matter, and let's help build other people up, and have a good time doing it.
No words required. Thank you, Huon. I won't try to say your last name.